When a dog walker thought he was making a normal stroll, he encountered something extraordinary. His eyes fell upon a ship that had been missing for some 50 years. Shortly after, the shores were filled with crowds of people, and once officials arrived at the scene, they were shocked to discover what was inside. Before we start, smash the like button and make sure to subscribe if you haven't, and hit that notification bell so that you won't miss any new stories. Peter pulled his coat tighter against the cold morning. His dog, Max, trotted ahead, nose close to the wet planks of the harbor. This was their usual early walk, long before the town woke up, but today something was off. Max kept pausing, and Peter felt strangely on edge. As they followed their normal route, Max suddenly froze. His ears shot up and a low growl came from his throat. Peter followed his gaze and squinted toward the water. Far out, something large and dark floated in the dim light. It didn't belong there. His heartbeat sped up. Peter walked closer, step by careful step, trying to figure out what he was looking at. The shape stayed completely still on the water. It didn't drift or turn with the waves. It just sat there, silent and heavy in the empty harbor. "What is that?" he muttered, gripping Max's leash. The more he moved along the pier, the clearer it became. It was a ship, a huge one. It looked dead, like it hadn't moved in years. Rust covered the hull, and holes dotted the sides. Peter stared, stunned. It felt like something that should have sunk a long time ago. Peter's chest tightened. He'd lived here for years and knew every fishing, boat, and cargo ship by sight. This one was new and also very old. It looked like something from a faded photo or a story told in a bar. It didn't belong in his quiet harbor, Max whimpered beside him. Peter swallowed and pulled out his phone. This was too strange to ignore. His fingers shook as he dialed the police. When the operator answered, he hesitated. "You're not going to believe this," he said. "There's a huge ship in the harbor, old, rusted. It wasn't here yesterday." "Sir, we get a lot of prank calls," the dispatcher replied, sounding tired. "Are you sure you're not mistaken?" Peter stared at the ship again. "I'm sure. It looks like it's been rotting for decades. Please send someone." There was a pause then. "Stay where you are. Officers are on the way." Peter stayed at the edge of the pier, watching the silent ship. The minutes dragged by. Finally, a patrol car pulled up, lights washing over the rusted metal. 2 officers stepped out. Their doubtful looks changed the moment they saw the vessel. "Holy, where did that come from?" one whispered. The officers walked to the pier's edge, radios crackling as they called in what they were seeing. They spoke quietly into their mics, then one asked for backup. More squad cars arrived, headlights cutting through the fading dark. Soon, yellow tape went up across the pier, keeping people away from the edge. Peter caught bits of their conversations. "No record of it. Could have been lost at sea. This doesn't add up." None of them had real answers. As the sky brightened, the town slowly woke up. People heading to work paused when they noticed the police cars and the huge ship in the distance. Soon more gathered: joggers, fishermen, curious neighbors. Police tried to keep people back, but excitement was already building. It wasn't every day a ghost ship showed up in town. One officer stepped forward and raised his voice. "Please let us do our jobs. We don't know how safe this thing is." By now, the quiet pier had turned into a packed event. Parents lifted their kids onto their shoulders for a better view. Teenagers filmed everything. The Navy ship glided into place beside the pier. Officers scanned the old vessel carefully, radioing updates to police on land. Their task was simple but serious: secure a path to the mysterious ship and prepare to board. A team of 4 stood ready with gear and focused expressions. The boarding team had already been chosen before the ship arrived. Each carried flashlights, radios, and weapons standard protocol for unknown situations. The Navy ship slowed as it moved carefully between the pier and the ghostly vessel. One by one, they stepped onto the deck of their own ship and prepared to cross. A ladder hung loosely against the hull, held in place by a frayed rope. The ladder groaned under the first officer's weight, shifting with each movement. When they reached the main deck, the decay was unmistakable. Harris lifted his flashlight, the beam cutting through the darkness and revealing shattered windows and tangled ropes. Inside, a heavy, musty scent hit them immediately. Their flashlights illuminated dust-covered floors and long-abandoned equipment. Harris reported their entry as the unknown stretched before them. Outside, the audience continued to grow, their tension rising as speculation spread through the harbor. Captain Reynolds, the leader of the crew, refused to let his men explore alone. He was the first to step onto the rusted cruiser and the first to open the door leading inside. The ship seemed abandoned, but something didn't feel right. Further down the corridor, a tin can rolled across the floor with the ship's motion, eventually stopping at Reynolds' boot. The can looked ancient, but the expiration date told another story. While the date had long expired, the food inside appeared recently eaten. The scraps were still shiny and smelled fresh, impossible after decades. The crew exchanged tense glances. Someone had been here. The rusted ship, believed lost for almost half a century, held signs of recent life. The realization weighed heavily on them. If someone had been here, where were they now? The mystery was no longer about an abandoned vessel. Someone had lived here recently, and the deeper they went, the clearer it became that they might not be alone. A Navy officer nudged a bundle of fabric with his boot. It unraveled into a shirt that looked surprisingly clean. Clothes abandoned for years should have fallen apart, yet this one seemed recently worn. A chill ran through the crew. Someone had been here. The corridor ahead twisted into darkness, the ship groaning under its own weight. "We keep moving," Reynolds ordered, though hesitation clung to his voice. They had to understand what was happening here. A half-zip backpack lay farther in, its contents spilled. Inside was a water-damaged journal. On the last readable page, written in shaky handwriting, were 4 haunting words. "We found the world." The ink was still soft. It had been written recently. Reynolds felt eyes on them. The team exchanged uneasy glances. Who were these people? And what did finding the world mean? They paused, unsure how to proceed. In normal missions, there was a goal or enemy. Here, the unknown was watching them from the shadows. Reynolds suddenly realized they were approaching this wrong. He addressed the darkness around him. He explained they meant no harm, offering safety, food, and warmth. Though the plan seemed foolish to his team, he continued speaking with calm sincerity. Then a rumble. Something shifted to their right. The crew tensed, but Reynolds urged them to stay calm. Slowly, the first signs of life stepped into the beam of his flashlight. A pair of worn, patched shoes. Then more feet appeared. Within half a minute, nearly 20 people stood before them. Reynolds explained they needed to bring them to land for medical care and food, real food, not what they had been scavenging. Gently, the group followed the Navy team out of the ship, walking onto the pier like people seeing the world for the first time in years. Their movements were cautious, their eyes overwhelmed. Police and Navy personnel guided them to a hospital where they were checked and given meals they ate as if starved. Reynolds then spoke privately with one of the more talkative individuals. The man explained that he and the others had been on the ship with a mission to find civilization. This was the first time he had ever seen people outside his community. Reynolds tried to make sense of it. Then came the truth. The ship had set sail in 1978, carrying over 100 people. A violent storm struck about 200 miles from the mainland, heavily damaging the vessel until it could no longer steer. Cut off from the world, the passengers had been forced to survive inside the crippled ship for decades. The ship drifted aimlessly in the sea for a long time until it eventually was stranded on an island. That's where the passengers departed, disoriented and unsure of what to do. For years, the castaways had waited for help, but when no rescue came, they built shelters, created homes, and survived off the island's food. Over time, they had children, Kendrick and his generation. But the island could no longer support them. The older survivors were too weak to travel, so Kendrick and other young islanders set out, pushing the old ship back into the sea. After drifting for months, the currents finally carried them to Reynolds City. Kendrick requested one thing: help bringing his people home. Reynolds, moved by the courage it took to cross the open ocean, asked for the island's coordinates. Kendrick handed him a map marked with a red dot he had calculated by tracking the stars. Reynolds immediately assembled a team, including Kendrick, and prepared to depart. At dawn, the Navy crew stood beside the rusty ship in the harbor, ready for the mission. Reynolds and Kendrick boarded a large transport vessel, watching the waves as they sailed toward the island. Supplies, food, clothes, medical kits were loaded to help the islanders transition back to civilization. Hours later, the first glimpse of the island appeared a stretch of green trees against blue water. As smaller boats carried them to shore, Kendrick whispered, "Home." Stepping onto the sand, he guided the group toward wooden huts and hand-built gardens that showed how much the community had achieved with so little. But their arrival sparked fear. Island residents screamed and ran, hiding inside their homes and disappearing into the jungle. Reynolds recognized their panic, but Kendrick stepped forward, calling out to reassure them. Slowly, cautious faces appeared. Then an older man emerged from a larger hut, Kendrick's father. Weathered but strong, he stared in disbelief before embracing his son, the years of separation collapsing in an instant. The islanders gathered, realizing that Kendrick's return meant rescue. His father announced the news. They were finally going home. Relief swept through the village as people prepared to leave the only world they had known. The Navy helped them pack small belongings. Many carried nothing but memories, holding tightly to loved ones. Kendrick's father thanked Reynolds, ready for the journey. Soon, the transport ships filled with more than 100 islanders headed back toward civilization. Some cried at leaving their home behind. Others looked forward with hope. During the voyage, the Navy provided care and support. The islanders stared in awe at the technology around them. Kendrick's father admitted he never thought he would see civilization again. When they arrived, a massive crowd waited at the harbor. Families stood hoping for miracles. As the first islanders disembarked, reunions erupted tears, disbelief, and joy. Some met relatives they thought were long dead. Others were welcomed by the city community. The government quickly arranged assistance, housing, and medical support. Kendrick stood amazed by the noise, buildings, and endless movement of the city. Reynolds placed a hand on his shoulder. "You did it," Kendrick answered. "No, we did it." The story spread across the world, a tale of survival, hope, and resilience. As the sun set over the city, the mission was complete. A new life had begun for all of them.